let me do that before I forget. All right, we're recording. So good morning and happy Friday. I missed you all. Thank you for your patience with me last week. I decided to cancel a meeting. I stayed in bed. It was wonderful. I hope you all practice some self-care too. But we're back, and thank you for joining us on the day before our 3-day weekend here in the U.S. I'm glad to see so many faces this morning. We'll get started with our 30-second commercials / elevator speech. And I'm actually the first square today, so I'll go ahead and start. I'm Jill Celeste. I'm the president of this chapter of Virtual Networkers, Chapter 600. And welcome to everyone here today. When I'm not virtually networking, I am teaching female entrepreneurs how to market their businesses in an authentic and spiritual way, mostly through the Celestial Circle, which many of you are a member, and I thank you so much for being that. Hopefully some of you got some mail from me this week. Maybe you've got 2 pieces of mail from me this week, depending on who you are. Name tags went out and also warm letters, so let me know if you have any questions about that. Okay, next up is Margaret Martin.
Good morning, everyone. I'm in what's, for a short period of time, relatively cool Dunedin, Florida. Of course, it's going up to 95 today, but, you know, we'll take the 70s when we can get it. So when I'm not enjoying those 70-degree temperatures, I'm the author of The Chatter That Matters, Your Words Are Your Power, as well as my Journal of Gratitude, Your Chatter Matters. And I utilize a lot of the steps and processes in this book in my coaching practice as I help people with looking at the negative mind chatter that they have and how they can transform it. Also taking a look at the way they get into conversational habits and their communication. So a lot of that I work with, and I love doing seminars on this as well. So I'm Margaret Martin at margaretmartin.com.
Thank you, Margaret. And now I know you are a speaker, but we still give you 30 seconds to introduce yourself. So please go ahead, Neelam.
All right, that's awesome. So my name is Neelam Sharma, and I'm a life and leadership coach. So I work within organizations to help that middle layer of an organization, those managers who don't get a lot of attention. And I help them really reach their potential. One of the other things that I do, though, is what I'll be talking about with you today is helping entrepreneurs and coaches design workshops to build their credibility with their clients. So my name is Neelam Sharma, and I'm with Neelam Sharma Coaching. Very creative name.
I'm using your first and last name. I love it. All right, Kelly Lutman, you're next.
Hi, I'm Kelly Lutman. I live outside of New Orleans in Slidell. If you've ever driven I-10 across the coast, you've come through my town, very close to my house. I'm a functional medicine health coach, which means I use functional medicine principles to dig down to the root cause of someone's symptoms or chronic disease and support the body in reversing those issues by changing their food, changing their lifestyle habits, and just working with them to understand what's going on in the body. I also happen to promote a non-toxic hair product that is probably going to go on a fantastic sale this weekend. So if you're interested in working with your hair in a way that nourishes and doesn't load your body with more toxins, then yeah. And it brings great results unless you just got up at really early in the morning.
Your hair looks good, Kelly.
But I say that I pursue wellness for you, wellness for life, because health is wealth.
Thank you, Kelly. We're so glad you're here. Judy King, you're next.
I'm Judy Kane, and most of you know my business is Aligned Consciousness, and I help people rewrite subconscious beliefs. So people come to me for 3 main reasons: either big emotions like phobias, trauma, being stressed out all the time, or particular situations, or they come because they're not hitting their conscious goals, or they come because they're having physical symptoms they don't like, and frequently those are because of beliefs they've got. So if you can get rid of the beliefs, you can get rid of the stress, and if the stress goes away, then the symptoms go away.
Somebody was agreeing with you, Judy. I'm not sure who that is. I'm not sure if it was a kid or a cat.
No kids here this morning. It's Kat.
I laughed because I'm waiting for mine to show up. We're glad you're here, Judy. Now, Jennifer, you can't walk away. You're next. Come back. Here she is.
Sorry, dogs were at the door just as you were. I think the cat was calling to them. Morning, I'm Jennifer with For You Marketing. I'm your content powerhouse. I create content for your blog, your Facebook account, your Instagram account. I'm located in Florida, but I work with people from across the country. So I focus on your back-end content so you can really put your time into your focusing on your business and your networking and your sales and the actual work that it takes to do your business. So I also provide coaching for like your video projects and your Instagram account, get that up and running. I'm Jennifer with For You. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Hello, Faye.
Hey everybody, sorry about that minor interruption. It was a bathing suit emergency. He's 8. My name is Faye Tarshis and I own Kathy's Cape. And Kathy's Cape is a fleece cape that is to keep people warm while they're going through infusion therapies. It's got pockets to tuck your personal belongings and keep them nice and safe while you snooze. Faye from Kathy's Cape. And I'm in Alpharetta, Georgia.
We're glad you're here. Good morning, Faye, and your bathing suit emergencies. I always have a bathing suit emergency. Like, ew!
No, when you're 8, it's where is it?
Good morning, Connie Jo. Good to see you.
Hello, I'm Connie Jo Miller of Enigma Bookkeeping Solutions. I serve service-based solopreneurs by providing bookkeeping services and financial coaching. I help you get your books in order so that you can really understand the financial health of your business, so you can make decisions about your business based on the numbers. And I also help you find ways to save money in your business so your bottom line gets bigger.
Yay! We like bigger.
And I'm in the Atlanta, Georgia area.
That's one bottom we like bigger.
Yeah! Big bottom girl.
Fat bottom lined girls. Oh, man. I'm punchy today. Watch out. Susan Rose, you're next.
I don't think I can follow big bottom girls. I am one. My name is Susan Rose from SusanRose.net, and I am a copywriter and content coach. So about 75% of my business is actually writing copy that converts for a range of kinds of clients. And then I learn all the good stuff that's working, and I coach small businesses on how to do it for themselves when they don't have the budget to go out and hire somebody like me or Jennifer to do it for them. So that is my company, SusanRose.net.
Thank you, Susan. We're glad you're here. Another Virginia. Miss Virginia, number 2.
Repton, Virginia, where it is currently breezy and sunny and absolutely beautiful. So I will probably not be working this afternoon.
Maybe not either. How about you, Mary Beth?
Yeah, I have the same plan, Susan. I'm in Alexandria, just about 10 miles south of D.C., close to the Potomac River. And, I'm going to take I've been watching Margaret do this, and I forget to do this. I also am the author of a book, and Peace in Passing, Comfort for Loving Humans During Animal Transitions. And I wrote the book because I'm an animal communicator, and I have dealt with a lot of end-of-life stories with animals. And so a lot of my clients and my friends and myself, we put our stories in here to give many people comfort about their animals, because losing an animal can be harder than losing some of the humans in your lives. It's a slightly not well-known secret that animals are a lot of comfort. So, it was an Amazon bestseller. Woohoo! And it's on Amazon if you need it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy, good morning. Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning, bright-eyed in Seattle. Hi. I'm Nancy Linneruth on blockresults.com. I'm a procrastination coach and an EFT or tapping specialist. So I use the tapping to get rid of the stuff that holds people back, particularly small business owners, from really going after what they truly want in life and creating that life they're meant to live. Nancy Linneruth at Nancy at unblockresults.com. It's early here.
It's 5. It's all right. You're doing good. Got it in the chat box. That's all that matters. So we're going to now switch gears to our speaker. Connie Jo, do you have the bio honors? All right. We'll have Connie Jo do the introduction, and then Neelam, we'll give the floor to you. We'll have you go to about 8:40 if that works for you.
Perfect.
All right, Connie Jo.
Okay. Neelam Sharma is a certified professional coach. She's experienced at working with individuals and within organizations. She has 20 plus years experience as a talent development consultant and is a dynamic and powerful facilitator who works equally well with small teams and with rooms of 100 plus. Today, her talk is called Take the Work Out of Workshops. So you know what you want to say and you're excited about getting your message out there, but where do you start? Good news. There are easy to follow guidelines to design and deliver powerful workshops that will take the stress out of the process and let you focus on creating powerful learning experiences. She's going to share an actionable framework that you can begin using right away to design your best workshop yet. Can't wait. And she's also in the Atlanta area. So
Yes.
Lots of Atlanta girls, big bottom Atlanta girls here. Take it away, Neelam.
All right. So, so I'm going to share with you a 4-step process, and it will help you design more effective workshops. And it is, if you keep it in mind, it's really going to help you get those clients and build your credibility, because a lot of us do workshops to do that as part of our marketing strategy and to educate our clients, our potential clients, or our clients. So I'm going to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint. Let's see. I think
you see the share button?
Yep.
Okay.
Yay. There we are. Okay. So let's get started. All right. So today I'm going to talk to you about the 4 steps, the 4 essential elements of any workshop. And they are explanation, demonstration, application, and evaluation. So at the end, I'll leave some time for you to ask me questions. And you can also ask me questions as we go along. I probably will not be monitoring the chat box. So if somebody can just speak up or let me know if there's a question in the chat box. So this is instructional systems design. So maybe some of you did not know that there is actually a bunch of people out there in the world, instructional systems designers, who do this for a living, who design workshops and learning experiences for a living. And those who do use models like this. This is the model I learned when I was in grad school. And don't worry if this makes you feel like this. That's not what we're going to cover. What we're going to talk about is a little bit simpler version of what you saw. So when you're teaching a new concept, you want to go through these 4 steps every single time. So in other words, it's an iterative process. You're doing this over and over again, depending on how long the experience is. Even in a lunch and learn, if you're doing 2 or 3 concepts, you want to go through this process. So the first thing you're going to do is explain the process, explain the concepts. You're going to demonstrate them, you're going to have people apply them, and then you're going to evaluate. And this whole process is about participants. What happens a lot of times is we'll go into we'll find out we're doing a talk. I got a great speaking engagement with my ideal client group. And the first thing we think about is, I need to get started on my PowerPoint. And actually PowerPoint, that piece of it should be one of the last pieces that you do. And if you're doing that PowerPoint, a lot of times we're thinking about, what do I know? How can I get it out to the people who are going to be sitting in front of me? So it's very much facilitator focused. So you're in your own head thinking, okay, I've got all this great stuff and I need to push it out there to the learners. And that isn't always the best way to approach what you're doing. It's not the most effective way. So let's talk about each of these four. Before we go, what questions do you have for me so far? All right.
I think we're good.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The first one, explanation. So with explanation, say you're talking about listening skills, and the first thing you want to do is explain the concept. So, you start with the context. A lot of you have problems with people hearing your message, or you have problems with remembering people's names, or you have whatever the context is for the audience you're talking to. So you try to put what you're going to talk about in their terms. So you introduce the context, you teach the concept. So maybe at this point, if you're teaching listening skills, you'll have a 4-step process for better listening. And you'll go through all 4 steps and talk about them in a little bit of detail so that people understand the concept piece of it. I'll say that this is where most people stop. Most people will introduce that concept, tell you a little bit about the context of it. This is why you should care, what's in it for you, that kind of thing, and tell you about the facts. And this part of it is 90 to 100% instructor. So I'm talking 90 to 100% of the time. And so this is good for part of your speaking engagement, but this shouldn't be all of it. How many of you have sat in on speaking engagements, talks, where this is all you get, 100% teacher talking? Yeah, all of us have been there, right? And that's actually what drove me to design this program. And in fact, I have a 4-week or 4 use my English words here. I have a 4-seminar series on how to do this. So because I've sat in rooms where people with the best of intentions are not getting the most out of their time with people. So if they're just doing instruction, they're missing the boat. So let's look at the second step. So the second step is demonstration. So here you're modeling the concept that you just explained. So you're doing that with all kinds of different ways. So you might do that with a video clip. So if you have a good video that you found on YouTube, or a homemade video, whatever the case might be these days. I used to tell people not to have homemade videos. That's how you can tell how old I am. It's a long time ago, right? So these days we have a whole different way of talking to our folks, and video clips are a great way to do it. Instructor demo. So I can be upfront and I can demonstrate the concept for you. So if I'm doing a listening skills workshop, I might have somebody in the audience talk to me and then tell them, use the 4-step process I just taught them, and go through each step and say, what am I doing to listen better to this person? So this is sort of a rudimentary kind of instructor demo, but it can be any kind of complexity that you want. You might use something like a flow chart. So, this is step 1, and these are the 5 things you do under step 1. This is step 2. These are the 5 things you do under step 2. So a flow chart to show people, how it works. So you're modeling the concept that way. I will give you a little caveat there. A free tip is that when you are doing PowerPoint slides, and you don't have to do PowerPoint, let me just say that. I've done lots of workshops and learning experiences with just me and a flip chart maybe. But if you are using PowerPoint, you want to be sure you're not putting too many things on your slides. So if you look at my slides, there's lots of white space. There's one image, and the images are consistent throughout. So they're all photographs. And they are, I try to follow as closely as possible the rule of 6 by 6. So no more than 6 bullets with no more than 6 words per bullet. And that's a lot. So if you're doing a flow chart, don't get up there and say, I know you can't read this. That is one of my pet peeves. Like, if I can't read it, why are you putting it up there? So, don't do that. So if you're going to do a flow chart or something like that, a spreadsheet or something, make sure it's readable. Make sure you don't have to say those awful words. I know you can't read this, unless you're giving them all copies and you're showing them where to look on their copy. You could do something called a fishbowl exercise. How many of you have heard of a fishbowl? Anybody? Except for the one, where the goldfish swims, not that one. So a fishbowl exercise is where you get a couple of people up from the audience, or maybe you and an audience member, and you have them up in front of the room. So they're in a fishbowl, everybody can see them. So I caution you not to do this to the unwary. So don't do it to some poor person that's just like, you, come on up. So maybe you make arrangements ahead of time, or you ask for a volunteer, but you demonstrate something up front with somebody else. And a lot of times, if you have an assistant in your workshop, you can use that person. A fishbowl is a really great way to do it, but I am not a big fan of using participants for fishbowl exercises. I feel like it can be very uncomfortable, and part of my job as a facilitator up in front of the room is to make the room comfortable. One of the ways that you increase your credibility is to have a comfortable environment. Some of the ways that you do that include not picking on your participants, and taking care of distractions in the room. And it's kind of distracting to know that you might be the next person that's being pointed at, that's being chosen. You're not really listening, maybe, because you're a little nervous, especially if you're an introvert. Please don't call on me, not making eye contact. I'm not making eye contact. Don't look at me. We've all done it, right? So we don't want to do that in our rooms. We don't want to make people uncomfortable unless there's a reason for it. If you're doing something to demonstrate this is what you shouldn't do, or, if there's a good reason for it, but don't do it just, without thinking, if it's not intentional. And here in the demonstration piece in step 2, it can be up to 50% participants. So you are turning over part of the time, airtime, to your participants. So why do you suppose, and this is a genuine question, so why do you suppose we don't do that more often? Turn over the airtime to our audience?
Well, I'm a control enthusiast, so.
Enthusiast, I love it. Yeah. So anyone else?
I was going to say the same thing. You're out of control, then you don't know what's going to happen, so you might be freaking out because it's like, what are they going to say?
Well,
Yeah.
I've had so I'll give you an example where I'm doing participant stuff, and I'm doing a thing on animal communication, and one of my participants starts to talk about aliens. Like, oh, I don't know what to do with this, but I got to be polite and loving.
Yeah, that, you guys nailed it. That is exactly it. I am going to, so, I call it control freak, but, that's not so nice. But really, we are not that comfortable. A lot of us are not that comfortable in front of the room in the first place. And now we're introducing this sense of chaos, right? Anything could happen. So one of the things I will tell you, though, is even in the case of the alien, you are the expert. You know more than anybody else in the room about your subject. That's why they're in the room with you. And it's all about dancing in the moment. So from what you guys told me about, I'm sorry about the guys. I'm from the North originally. So when I say guys, it's generic. But so, from when you all introduced yourselves, I could tell that there's a lot of sort of the, as I call it, the crunchy, part of the world here. And I say that with love because I'm a yoga teacher, so I'm with you. So, you really are dancing in the moment. You're being, the more in the moment you are, the more you're able to deal with the chaos that might happen when you turn it over to your audience. And I will tell you that, the more you do it, the better you get at it. So if you start doing it with lower risk audience, so where it doesn't feel like you've got as much at stake, you're practicing until you get in front of a higher risk audience and you're able to still ask the question. And it's okay not to know the answer. Even if you're building your credibility, part of building your credibility is not pretending you know more than you do. Nobody expects you to know everything. So if you, say, so what questions do you have? Someone has a question, you don't have the answer. How might you deal with that?
Well, I deal with it by saying, I don't know the answer to that, but I can find out. If you want me to get back with you later on, I can provide you with the answer.
Beautiful. Yeah. So that's it. And if you've read any of Brene Brown's work, she talks about vulnerability. And this is making yourself vulnerable, right? By saying, I don't know. But what we've learned from her, and I think some of us from our own experience in the world, is that people appreciate you being vulnerable in front of them. It's a way to connect to them. You're human just like they are. So all this to say, try it out. See if you can turn over the control and become vulnerable to your participants through this step here, step 2. So let's move to step 3, application. So this is a step that gets left out more often than not. So I've told you everything I know about a subject, and then I've demonstrated it. My job is done. Well, we know from our own experience of being in an audience that if we leave without trying it out, our chances of trying it out in the real world are very slim. So if we're able to apply our new knowledge here in a place where there's still support and everybody's in the same boat, we're all trying new things, we're going to learn from each other. We're going to be much more likely to take what we've learned into the real world, which is really what we want, right? As instructors, we want the people sitting with us in the room to leave knowing something they didn't know, but then being able to do something differently than they did before. And if your goal when you're speaking is not that, then I would urge you to find a piece of it that is that. Because if it's just about you talking, you don't need to be in front of people. You can just send video clips. So, so when you are in the application piece, there's lots of really fun ways to do this. You can do worksheets. I know that doesn't sound like a lot of fun, but I've actually just recently was in a workshop with another coach who was teaching of all things how to put together your strategy for your business. It was at the beginning of the year. And so that sounds like the driest subject ever. And then worksheets. Oh, her worksheets were so fun. They had you could draw in them. She gave you, markers and colored pencils. So worksheets can be fun. So you can do worksheets. You can do role play. So this is different than the fishbowl. You're not doing it in front of the room. It may be that you just do, you break people up into pairs, into trios. So if you do a trio, it's somebody who is practicing the concept, someone who is the practice partner, and the third person is the observer. and then you rotate so everybody gets to do every piece. So role play is very powerful. I probably wouldn't call it role play to your folks though, because people hear role play and eyes start to roll and people start to not make eye contact with you, and yeah. So call it something else. What are, you're creative, so you can think of something. So some way for them to practice and get feedback on that practice, and feedback from each other, because giving feedback to somebody is another way to learn. So if I'm practicing, I'm learning something. When someone else is practicing and I have to give them feedback on how they do, I'm learning there. If I'm the observer, I'm learning because I'm watching both of these things happen. So role play is very powerful. And if what you are presenting lends itself to that, it's a great way to apply the concept. Another way to do it is case studies. So if you are doing, maybe probably a longer experience, then case studies, if you write them up ahead of time. And when I write case studies, I like to do it from the perspective of the people I'm talking to. So I might interview one or two people I know are going to be in the audience and try to use their language in the case study. But in any case, writing a case study, having, maybe a table group work on that case study, and then present it back to us. And there's lots of great things about case studies. You are not just, it's not as academic as a test where you just know how to take a test so you can do it. You're actually applying the concepts that you have just been taught. So case studies can also be a way for you to evaluate, which is something we'll talk about in a minute, or to measure. You can do small group discussion. So small group discussion can be, 2 or 3 people. It can be a small table. It can be, break the whole room up into just 4 groups, depending on how many people you have. I recommend no more than 6 people in a group, because then more than 6 makes it easy for the 7th person to hide. So in a small group, you want people to participate. And here you can see it's 90 to 100% participants. There is something called discovery learning. How many of you have heard of discovery learning? So you may not have heard the words, but you've done it. So discovery learning is if I give you, say I give you a problem to solve using this problem-solving technique that I showed you. I break you up into groups and you have at it. You learn and you put together a presentation to show me, and I don't have anything to do with it. All I'm doing is walking around if you have questions. So our tendency is to want to insert ourselves into groups who are working because they're doing it wrong. Well, partly we know when we do something wrong, so that's some of our best learning. Mistakes are one of the best ways that we learn. We don't really learn from a lot. Well, I hate to say this as a coach, but we don't always learn that much from our positive experiences. We learn from the more painful and where we're making mistakes. So let people make mistakes, and now you don't want them to leave the room with that, faulty thinking. At some point, you're going to have to give them feedback. But if you're doing discovery learning, that isn't when you do it. Let them make their mistakes. Maybe their peers will correct them, and then you'll get your chance afterwards. So the last step, the 4th step, is evaluation. So you're trying to evaluate how well you were able to convey what you taught, and then how well the people in your room are able to do what you taught. You can do this with the participants by breaking them up into pairs. You can do it with reflection. So I do a lot of journaling in my classes. I give them a journal and have them journal about what they've learned, and maybe talk about it with a partner. Or you can do it with just have people discuss in pairs or trios. the evaluation can be done by the instructor. So you can evaluate. So when I talked about earlier about case studies and about presenting the results, that's one way the instructor can evaluate how well people understood what you were teaching. So if they do a case study and there's a piece of it that doesn't fit just right, you can give them feedback kindly, of course. You want to do this keeping in mind that the people you're talking to are human, and be kind about it, but be straightforward, because you don't want people to leave with the wrong information. So case studies are a way to do it. Just asking questions and having people answer, as the instructor, that's a way to evaluate. You can give people an actual test. So one thing I've done before is given people a written test at the beginning of, this was a multi-day learning experience, but so give them a test at the beginning. This has the added benefit of they get what's in it for them because they find out what they don't know. And then I give them that same test at the end. And 99% of the time they're going to do better because I teach what's in the test. So people leave feeling good. They feel like I've learned something. I did better than I did in the first test. And if you're doing this for an organization, it's a great way to show, before and after. This is what people knew before. This is what they're leaving with after working with me. You can do large group discussion. So evaluating their knowledge through, having discussions about what they learned. So those are the 4 steps. And I don't want you to feel like you do them once and you're done. They are iterative. So every time you have a new concept that you teach, you go through these 4 steps. It doesn't have to be long and involved each time. You can be more long and involved for the more important concepts, but for the smaller concepts, you do a quick, a quick version of these 4 steps. So that's a way that that you are not just talking at people, you're involving people in their own learning experience. So that's the 4 steps. It's a simplified version of what I teach in the 4 webinars that I'm going to do, because this is incorporated into that, but that gives more detail. But in 20 minutes, this is a way for you to get started and hopefully have something that you can use right away in designing your next learning experience. So what questions do you have for me?
Feel free to unmute yourself. I love that little dog at the end.
Oh, I'm an animal lover. Can you tell?
I guess Judy Kane's cat has joined us for the.
Yes.
Who has a question for?
I have a question.
Oh, good.
Hey.
So this is so timely for me because I actually am going to be doing a training, my first corporate training. I've done workshops and training, but I haven't ever done a corporate one before. And it's going to be delivered via WebEx. So especially around I would love to break them up in pairs and have them, because it is going to be very interactive. They'll be doing a lot of worksheets and stuff like that, but I'm not going to be in the room with them. And there's going to be some of them together, some of them not together. So how would you suggest doing the evaluation piece of it, or kind of getting that feedback in that sort of environment?
Yeah, what a great question. And that is a question that I get a lot, because we're doing so much stuff virtually these days. And so the evaluation piece in a setting like this is a little challenging. So, so
that's what I was gathering as you were talking. I'm like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah, but it can be done. It can be done. So if you are, if you're doing the instructor one, so if you're asking questions and you're asking for responses, you can have people type things into the chat box. You can have people speak out. And one of the things that happens when we ask questions, even in a live room, but especially in a webinar situation, is that we don't give people enough time to answer. Yeah, because it's another thing. It's another control thing. You feel like, okay, I have to fill in the space. There's silence. I've got to talk. But letting people know that you're going to wait for a response, not until it gets too uncomfortable, but give them a few beats. You might have some people in the audience who you could arrange with ahead of time to speak up. You can kind of seed the audience, in other words. So in the webinars that I'm putting together to teach this, I feel like, okay, I've got to model all this stuff. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm giving people points. So, for a fabulous prize that they don't even know what it is, but people will they will climb over each other for candy. So it doesn't have to be a great prize.
Is that wrong?
People are competitive.
Yeah.
So having point values for people answering questions correctly, they're going to jump in and want to answer. So there's lots of, but I will say you'll have to be creative,
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. That gives me some ideas because I haven't started planning this yet. So it's not like I've gone down a path already and can't have to then. That's like, okay. Jill's asking if WebEx allows breakout room flexibility. Jill, I don't know. I don't use WebEx. This is something the client wants to use.
I think they have a polling functionality, Susan.
Yes, but I think what's going to happen in this case is like 5 or 6 of them are going to be in a conference room, and then the outliers are going to be virtual. So I don't think I could do breakout. So I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'm having the scoping meeting in the next, I'll get all the rest of the details in the next week or 2.
Well, I may be mistaken, but when I was in corporate, we used WebEx, and I thought you could do breakout rooms.
You probably can. I just don't know if there's a bunch of them in the room together. I mean, I guess I could have them go. We're getting into the weeds here. I don't want to take up all the time. I'll figure it out. You give me some great ideas for how to reinforce this learning, because I really, that's my big concern about this, is that they actually implement what I teach them.
Yeah,
Right.
of course.
Here's one of the things to think
if you've got
about.
questions, just let me know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One of the things to think about is, is somebody else going to be in control of, the chat box and the breakout, or are you going to be in control? And that'll make a difference too, as to whether you have the capability of doing those things or you have to instruct someone else to do it.
That's an excellent question, and I don't know the answer to that at this moment. So,
So other questions?
While we're doing the questions, Neelam, do you mind stopping your slide share?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's just a little easier to see everybody.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
I thought it was I took so many notes today. I just so much. And I thank you for the reminder to bring colored pencils and markers, because I certainly have a few.
Oh my gosh. A woman after my own heart.
So Jill, do I need to bring them when I see you on the 29th?
Oh, I think I'm going to be packing them, my friend. I'm like, it's literally, not only did I write it down, but then I took a red pencil.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you for that tip.
Go ahead. Another thing to do is to, if you're in a room with people, is to give them toys.
Oh.
Hopefully not toys they're going to throw at you. But
how about a basset hound? Would that?
Sure.
Ears.
I'm bringing my basset hound. So,
you want to come?
Margaret, go ahead real quick.
So one of the questions I have is, how do you break the time out for each of these sections? And then do you also have a time at the end for people to complete a comment form?
Yeah, so the way that, so the timing thing, there's a lot to it. So if you're talking about breaking it out into those 4 steps, how much time to spend on each step, it really depends on the complexity of what you're talking about, right? So if it's something so I'll give you an example of a 2-day workshop that I've done before, where the entire first half of the first day is step 1. because it's pretty complex, it takes a long time. Now, that doesn't mean I don't incorporate some of the other steps in there, but it's a lot of talking. And I let people know that it's not going to be like this the entire time you're here. And then the other, half of the day and the next day is almost all them. But so it really, I hate to give the consultant answer, but that's it. It depends. And then the evaluation form at the end. So we call them smile sheets in the business, right? So we call them that because most of the time people, if you've done a pretty good job, people are feeling good and they're going to give you good marks and they're going to tell you, oh yeah, I'm going to do this as soon as I get home. I'm sure they have good intentions, but that doesn't always happen. So that's why we talk about application and evaluation of that practice in the room, because then you can give feedback and they can get started on it. So the evaluation you're getting is good. I don't want to denigrate it. I think it's useful, but it's useful for just knowing, like, did you do okay, basically, and was the room nice, and were people happy with the snacks, kind of thing.
One of the things I use in almost every presentation is I do have a comment form, but I also have a calls to action at the bottom. Could I add you to my newsletter? Are you interested in, coaching or, different things like that they can check off and allow me the follow-up time?
Yes, absolutely. So if you're using it to build your business, I do the same thing. Have my information down there and they can check off if they want. I also will provide, if there's a workshop that I'm going to be doing, if you want information about this, sign up here, kind of thing. But it's a great way to do it by doing it an evaluation.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Jen.
My husband deals with this, a little more than I do anymore, but I used to teach kids. And some get disorderly and some, are just there to screw off and that kind of thing. And while you're mostly talking about older people that want to be there, do you ever, my husband works with older people and sometimes, they don't want to be there either because it's a corporate setting that he teaches in and they're kind of funneled in. You got to go to this. Yep. And they're just, like annoyed they have to be there. Do you recommend anything to deal or cope with that?
Yeah, so adult learners have specific ways they like to learn, and the more you can honor those characteristics, the better off you're going to be. So maybe I'm jinxing myself here, but I've been up in front of rooms since 1996. Oh my gosh, I'm old. So 1996, I can remember maybe 2 or 3 people the whole time that I've been teaching. And even them, so I remember this one guy, he had more experience than anybody else in the room. I mean, he had been there for 25 years already, and doing well, successful. So he was very resentful that he was being put in a room with a bunch of other people who didn't know anything, in his view. So I knew this going in because I knew him. And we weren't friends, but I knew him. So I asked the room in general, I said, I know there are people in here with a lot of experience, and I love that you're here. I would love if you could act as mentors to these people in the room who are newer and share your wisdom and experience with us. So I guess
kind of acknowledge them before you start off, and
and acknowledge what they already know and what they're bringing into the room. I guess I would say it's like being kind to the people in your room and being compassionate for where they're coming from, because people are difficult for a reason. They're resisting for a reason. We label them as difficult, but that resistance is something all of us have experienced. So connecting to that part of ourselves that has resisted and seeing that in our audience. So I think the more you can connect with them and honor who they are, the less difficult they are, I think. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. He's in a room of mostly just guys. It's a little different, So, I think women can be a little more compassionate in that sense. So I'll give him that feedback. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And just to let you know, when I was doing corporate work, it was in manufacturing. So it was a bunch of men.
Yes. My husband, very similar.
That's like being with a group of engineers. No thanks.
Tough guys and
Thanks. Well, thank you, Neelam. Such a great presentation. We're going to go around the room, do announcements, and inevitably someone will also have a question when we do that, Neelam, so hang tight.
Okay. Thank you all.
This is your opportunity to share what you are promoting, what you need help with, a shout out, whatever you like. Feel free to use the chat box to drop any links. And we'll start kind of at the bottom, and we'll start with Mary Beth.
Okay, Neelam, thank you so much. I was also somebody who's just creating my own little Word document out of this information. It is so helpful. I wish I knew this earlier. That's all I can tell you. But it's going to be great. I'm going to incorporate it in so many things. So thank you. So I wanted to tell everybody that I am still reaping the benefits of being in the Celestial Circle. Jill, your idea about I went to the Maryland Psychic Fair, and it was a lot of fun. And I used your idea. I'm there to do some readings, but I'm mostly there to get signups for my newsletter. And I generally was getting 6 to 10 people. I'd used your idea with the raffle, giving away a short session. I got 40 plus people signing. Wow. 40 plus people. And I'm oh my goodness. That would have taken 5 years. Can I be honest? So thank you so much. It's just funny how those little tweaks will just send you in a new direction. So thank you, Jill.
You are welcome. Congratulations on that. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Nancy, top that. I was kidding.
Can't possibly. I simply cannot possibly. I have a shout out for Kelly for the Monet shampoo and conditioners. I got my own dealer here on the West Coast long before I met Kelly, but it's the best stuff. If you haven't used it, it's really amazing. And you can't tell because every time I show up here, my hair is soaking wet, but it's wonderful stuff. And so check it out.
Sweet.
And ask is if you know somebody who has a money ceiling, who just can't seem to, no matter what they do, get themselves to bring in more money. There's something going on there that I worked with a lot of people to get rid of, and it doesn't have to be there. So send them my way. So, okay. I am so tired. Okay.
Caffeine this morning. Thank you, Nancy. Neelam, anything you would promote or shout out, referral? What can we help you with?
Well, actually, so I am in the process of putting together that webinar series I talked about. And if anybody's interested in hearing about it when it is an actuality, when I'm putting it out there, just let me know and I'll be happy to put you on the list. And I'm also looking for more speaking opportunities like this for groups like this. So and I'll be talking about this subject. So
awesome. We have 2 other virtual networking groups. One of the other presidents, not that you can see this, but she's right above you on my screen. So I'm sure she'll be in touch. Thank you so much for your presentation today, too. Super wonderful. Highly recommend.
My pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of that person, Susan Rose, you're next.
All right. Well, that was a wonderful segue because my ask today is actually not for referrals to my business, but to my chapter of the Virtual Networkers. We meet on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, and I am on a mission to recreate this group of people with other actual physical human beings on the Wednesday group. So if you know somebody who you think that would be a better time for them, or they'd be a good fit, or energetically there's somebody you would like to wrap into your Keep It Local network, send them my way. They can just email me to my email address there, and I will send them the information about the chapter. And Neelam, if you're interested in speaking, I have a little sign-up sheet for that, so that's always fantastic also. So that's my ask for today.
Thank you, Susan. Connie Jo.
Thank you, Neelam. That was awesome. I love this. Neelam and I met at a workshop that I ended up going to because of Debbie Keevan. She was a sponsor, and she gave me her ticket because she couldn't be there. And it was it was called Six Figure Impact, and it was a coaching for coaches. So that's how I met her, and I'm so happy I did.
Me too.
Good benefit. So I just my ask is I love to serve solopreneurs with helping them with their bookkeeping and understanding their finances and saving money. So if you know of any service-based solopreneurs, coaches, anyone in that line, I would love to help them.
Thank you, Connie Jo. Yes. Faye, you're next.
Good morning. That was wonderful, Neelam. Thank you. I wrote so many notes I had to keep turning the page. Not quite as red and pretty as Jill's, but many a note. But I too like markers, Jill.
I knew we were
I like Post-it notes too.
Yeah, me too.
Sticky notes. Don't send me to Staples. Kathy's Cake. I am looking for a boutique to hang cakes in. That's a profession to look for. It is unfortunate, but I need to be put in touch with people who may know somebody that's going through chemotherapy or any type of infusion therapy. They may want to purchase a cake for somebody versus cooking a meal, letting it go in the freezer, letting it go outdated. I have personally been that person that's cooked the meal and taken it over and had to stuff it in somebody's freezer at times because everybody feels the need to feed everybody when the family is in a situation. And as a little Jewish girl, it's always eat, eat, eat. So I'm always feeding you, but I'd much rather give you a cake than to put food in your freezer. So it'll keep you warmer for longer. Thank you.
Well, you can bring us some food too if you really want.
I do make a mean matzo ball soup. I gotta tell you.
I love it. Thank you, Faye. Jennifer, you're next.
Good morning again. Neelam, that was really helpful. Thank you. I think there's a lot of us here that do coaching and workshops and stuff. So it was nice to, have some direction that's a little fresh and new that we haven't done. I love that fishbowl idea. That's fun. Okay, so I'm Jennifer, again, with Voyu Marketing, and I really wanted to thank everybody that had taken me up on the complimentary offer that I have. I did 3 different, and I'm still currently working. Judy and I are working on some stuff with her graphics and maybe some Facebook posting and things. So if anybody else is interested from here on out, I like to offer that program. It's writing for your blog and doing Facebook or maybe Instagram posting for you for 3 months at a time. And I offer that at 15%. It really helps get, maybe the simple stuff that you think is easy, but maybe is clogging up your time so you can move on to focusing on more important stuff in your business. Not that it's not important, but I can't do the video for you. I can't network for you. I can't do the other work, your client work for you, but I can take this off your plate. So please reach out and thank you.
Thank you, Jim. She's doing a great job with Debbie Keevans. I noticed immediately a difference. I was
awesome.
Like, let's do what to. And then she shared that was Jennifer behind the scenes.
That's great. Thank you so much. That's great to hear. I'm glad it's going well for her.
Yeah, awesome job. Margaret, you're next.
Thank you. Good morning again. And yes, I'm one of the recipients of Kelly Lettman's Monet hair products, using a couple of different ones. I love them, and I did notice a change in my hair. For me, an ask would be, someone that may need to make some changes in their life. I love to help them in a coaching program this summer. Summertime is a good time to focus on yourself so that you can, finish out the rest of the year in a strong way. So I'm looking for opportunities to work with people in life design coaching, as well as perhaps somebody looking for a new career and needs to tweak up their resume and LinkedIn profile.
Awesome. Thank you, Margaret. I'm next in the little Brady Bunch. Speaking of the Celestial Circle, in June, we are gathering to plan the remainder of 2019. I call it the mid-year planning. We have a live workshop that we work through. You can catch the replay if you can't make it live. There's a 24-page workbook that goes with it. We do all of it, most of the work together, about 90% of it together. So you don't have to make time for it, just appear. And what we love about it is that we reflect on the things that we've learned, and we simplify and implement what we want to do for the remainder of the year. So if you're not in the Celestial Circle and you'd like to do some planning for the remainder of the year, go to jillceleste.com/midyear and come sign up and join us. We would love to have you. So next up, we'll do Kelly, and then last but not least, Judy.
All right. Thank you so much, Neelam. That was really, really good. I like to do a lot of speaking because that's how people catch what I do better, or at least my passion for it. But I learned some new things about the interaction and about letting it not all be me instructing, which I think is really valuable. And I want to give a shout out to Nancy Linneruth. I did a session with her last week, and it was really insightful. I was familiar with EFT, but every time you do it with someone else, you learn, and she has insights and new eyes, new head, and you do get to see her hair actually dry. It's really cool. And it looks gorgeous. My ask today is for any of you. I will put a link into the chat if you're curious about the hair products. I've got a quiz that you can take to help determine. It guides me in how to guide you in what products might work best for you. Absolutely no commitment or anything, but it's just an explore. And like I said, we are expecting a fantastic sale this weekend. They don't ever tell us ahead of time, so we never know what's coming, but we got to anticipate, So I'd love for you to join me in having wonderful hair. It's really cool, and it's happy hair. Thank you.
One happy hair. Yes, awesome, Kelly. Thank you. And then Judy Kane.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I've got such a long list. Neelam, that was wonderful. I'll be reaching out because I want to talk more with you sometime. I'm on my list of things to do is some virtual workshops. So these are great notes. I took a bunch too. Mary Beth, thank you for checking in on my animals while I was in Providence a couple of weeks ago. I appreciate that, making sure they were all cool. Susan, I'm getting so much out of your copy clinic. The mechanics of how to do stuff. Jennifer gave me a great tutorial yesterday on Canva. Jill, all sorts of people are coming at it from strange places with your spiritual marketing thing. So I'm, woohoo. Debbie is helping me with some other parts of my marketing. My ask is for those of you who know coaches, that's where usually my biggest source of clients comes from. They send their clients to me for an hour or maybe two to remove their blocks, and they go back to the coaches for the content of their coaching program, and it helps everything go smoother. So if you know a coach, I'd love to talk with them. Thanks.
Woo, Judy, that was awesome. Look at David Letterman top 10 list. Love it. Good job. Everybody did a great job. So with that, I want to wish
Jill, can I jump in really? I just remembered thank you. We've been working on getting the third quarter speaker schedule done, and there is one opening, and I'd love to give it to a current member who hasn't spoken since 2018, August 9th.
Who's available August 9th?
Is somebody, or even, you know, somebody visiting from another chapter. Susan,
I'll do it if it's okay.
Margaret, I love it. Thank you.
Do you
Did
have
I
a topic you would
ask
prefer?
me? I thought I gave you a date. I thought I
I'm
signed up.
sorry.
I thought I signed up. You asked.
Oh, what?
Maybe I didn't. Maybe I thought I was going to.
Okay, hold on, folks.
That's okay if I've spoken, you know, earlier.
Oh, I do have a date for you, Susan Rose. My apologies. I messed up there.
Okay.
I don't even have the West Coast time issue to use it as my reason. Margaret, 8-9. Yeah, I've got you down then. How's that?
Margaret,
August 9th?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
that's wonderful. Congratulations to the third quarter team for getting those speakers filled up. Yay! Can't wait to hear everything. So have a great weekend, everybody. We'll reconvene next Friday. We have, I think, Krista Martin. I think I saw her name in there. She's fantastic. She's coming eventually. If it's not next Friday, it's the following. So we'll see you all then. Look for the recording and for the transcript. It'll come soon to you this morning. And have a great day.
Have a nice weekend, everybody. Be safe. Enjoy the holiday.
Thank you again, Neelam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neelam. Jill, when is the next open house? I meant to ask.
I haven't know yet.
Okay. That
That's my
answers
mid-year planning day.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.